Cozumel, a jewel nestled in Caribbean waters. Cozumel is Mexico's largest inhabited island, on the eastern end of the nation, off the Yucatan Peninsula in the state of Quintana Roo. Weather is warm and humid, with plenty of rain, especially in the summer. However, and in spite of that rain, Cozumel has no surface rivers. But much as a whole peninsula, the island holds underground water deposits that are commonly known as cenotes. The name Cozumel refers to the Mayan word Cozumel, or the place of swallows. Nearly 80% of the island remains uninhabited. The east side is breathtaking and practically untouched. In the 1950s, local businessmen supported the development of tourism as a way to showcase Cozumel's natural beauties to the rest of the world. It was also then that French explorer Jacques-Yves Cousteau visited the island's reefs and declared the site one of the world's most beautiful and spectacular scuba diving sites. Ever since, Cozumel has remained the diving paradise of America, the continent, with crystal clear waters and a rich spectrum of colors, from turquoise blue to aqua green. But there are many other attractions to consider in addition to the reefs, including the fascinating and often perplexing sites of Maya settlements. San Gervasio is the largest, holding the temple of Ixchel, the Mayan goddess of fertility. It is said that every woman in the Mayan Empire had to come to her at least once in a lifetime to receive abundant descendants and give uncomplicated childbirth. The Island Museum offers a full glimpse of the past and present of Cozumel and its natural resources. Chankanaab Lagoon is also the heart of Chankanaab Park, meaning small sea in Maya dialect. Chankanaab is a geological creation of limestone erosion from the rain and sea. Its life comes from the ocean, as it is connected by way of a submarine channel giving shape to a perfect habitat for tarpons, which can live in either salt or fresh water. Within the cavern, they share quarters with schools of silversides, including anchovies, sardines, and herrings, on which they feed. Chankanaab is among the most remarkable ecosystems in the world. Cozumel holds approximately 40% of the total reported flora in the entire state of Quintana Roo, classified into 4 plant life communities. The coast dune, located on the shoreway along the high tide marker. The mangrove, nestled in the transitional area separating sea and land. Tides bring in nutrients for the reefs. And then there's the Taxistal, a low-diversity plant life community of palm trees, including sheep and taxiste. And last, the medium-height jungle that covers most of the island with trees 33 feet tall. Beaches, as happens along the rest of the Mexican Caribbean, owe their texture and color to the erosion of coral skeletons, snails, algae, and other animals that have developed on the reefs. Waves and currents carry the skeletons ashore, powdering the sand that forms the beaches. Now, the beaches on the east coast of Cozumel are practically virgin, year after year, they become a spectacle of life and survival. Here, young, vulnerable sea turtles hatch from their nests on their way to a new life. On the southern tip of the island is Punta Sur Park, the offspring of 4 fascinating lagoons: Columbia, Chankanaab, Chiquero, and Ixtacun. A site of true organic variety, it hosts a remarkable world of bird life. Crocodiles 5 to 9 feet long, and fish, all in the perfect harmony and freedom of this singular ecosystem. These marvelous creations of man and nature in Cozumel remain the guardians of one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth: coral reefs. Coral reefs occur in the world's oceans, sandwiched in between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. An estimated 85% of all the reefs in the world are to be found within the Indo-Pacific region, and the remaining 15% in the tropical Atlantic template. In the Caribbean Sea, the reefs of Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras all together span some 600 miles to form the second most important reef system in the world. Cozumel Island is part of that system. Most of the barrier reef is subscribed to the Cozumel Marine National Park. The composition of each coral species and how it grows is determined by several factors: depth, wave action, light, geological development, and the amount of fresh water and sediment coming from the main island. The structures we know today as reefs are built mostly from the skeletal remains of several species of hard coral, which have grown for centuries, building countless quarters for resident organisms. Soft corals do not ultimately evolve into reefs, but they do play a major role in the reef ecosystem by providing shelter and food for marine life. To this day, the longevity of coral is unknown in the absence of long-term research. However, some evidence suggests that many last hundreds of years. Each coral is formed by a colony of thousands of individual organisms called polyps. These are minute animals whose structure is similar to a sea anemone. They reside only in the outer layer of the reef, growing up and sideways along the skeleton, which makes them even more delicate. They enjoy several feeding methods, a crucial benefit, considering the vast amounts of energy they need to grow and reproduce adequately. During the day, as most fish actively seek food and shelter in the coral structure, polyps retract inside their exoskeleton for protection from their natural predators. When retracted, they feed upon zooxanthellae, algae that live within the coral, and give it its color. Come nighttime, when most fish grow less active, other marine species come to life. While the octopus remains in hiding during the day, nighttime becomes the call for hunting. Feeling less vulnerable, sea urchin walk along the reef structures in search of small invertebrates. Lobsters exit their hideouts to feed, sheltered in the darkness of night, cautiously roaming the bottom of the reef. Crabs agilely move atop the coral substrate to feast on algae and invertebrates along the way. And much like the other animals, coral polyps cling to the darkness of night and the calm of the reef to spread out from their exoskeleton. And as the carnivores they are, extend their tentacles to catch plankton drifting along the reefs. Reefs have to be appreciated as dynamic, balanced systems of remarkable complexity and infinite variety. They host a myriad of coral species for observation, such as the case of brain coral in its multiple manifests, or staghorn coral that develops in shallow waters. Finger coral, which extends like a carpet spread over the reef surface in the Tunich Wall. Soft corals, waltzing in stride with a flow of currents. Gorgonians, which at times will cover entire sections of the reef, and pillar coral of majestic designs in small places. In addition to coral, the reef substratum houses different species of anemones. Oftentimes accompanied by a small tenant, like this shrimp anemone, whose translucid state masks its presence entwined in the anemone's friendly tentacles, where it finds food and shelter. Several different varieties of algae and seagrass are on the menu of diverse animals. Sponges are animals that attach to the reef substratum, providing shelter for fish and a variety of invertebrates. Sponges are the food staple of certain species of fish and sea turtles, like the hawksbill turtle. Which leaves its notorious chomping marks after a feast. The reefs of Cozumel harbor sponges of several colors and shapes. Every sponge, at a specific time of the year, seeks sexual reproduction in a chain reaction that frees sperm and eggs into the surrounding waters. Fertilization takes place in the water or within the female sponge. Once fertilized, larvae flow with the current onto another accommodating site on the reef to which to affix and begin to grow. As eggs, sperm, and larvae have dispersed in currents year after year, sponges have attained a permanence in marine environments. And moreover, they bring life, food, and reproduction to several worm species. Stinging types like hydroids, and mollusks protected by a hard shell, including snails. Also, amazing cephalopods like squid and octopus, which live between 2 and 3 years. Their eyes are remarkably human-like and accurately register shapes, textures, and colors. Cephalopods, like most higher animals, have separate sexes. They copulate along the bottom of the reef. The males have a modified arm, functions as a sperm transfer conductor. Upon mating, the female octopus rejects the male and establishes a home where she will wait alone for some weeks. Actual fertilization does not occur until sometime later, when the eggs are deposited in rocky crevices. The incubation period lasts between 2 and 4 weeks. The female shields the eggs, oxygenates them with squirts of water, and vacuums them clean with her suction cups. She will commonly refrain from eating during brooding. By the time her young finally hatch as miniature adults, she will be near starvation and will die thereafter. Of an octopus's thousands of offspring, only 1 or 2 will grow to adulthood and reproduction. The rest will have fallen prey of other larger animals in the food chain. More than 500 species of fish that bring color and perpetual movement to the reefs surrounding Cozumel Island. Cozumel is privileged to have plentiful and diverse reefs. On its western end, there are some 20 diving sites whose location, depth, and current speed are great for drift diving. Each structure has its own singular set of traits. Some appear as a platform near the ground. Others tower more than 60 feet from the bottom. Then there are those whose proximity to the mangrove and freshwater sprouts become breeding grounds for several species of tropical fish. Others more, such as palancar, are so huge that they're divided into sections, calling for more than one dive for thorough inspection. Others hang on the edge of the insular bank or the edge of the wall and drop sharply in excess of 300 feet. And uniquely so, Punta Sur Reef, which hosts a major quartet of structures. A place to appreciate breathtaking caverns, some of them spectacularly lit by traces of incoming light. Others wide and marvelously spacious. Where fish like the glassy sweepers find a safe haven protecting them from predators. Yet the most amazing structure of all, the locally referred to Devil's Throat. Their name refers to the deepest section of the cavern. Found here is a tunnel that turns sharply on a straight angle. Outdoor light practically drops to a dim. This cavern has several passageways, some 120 feet deep. Because of its spectacular and unique conditions, this site is reserved for experienced divers. Advanced training is required. The stark contrasts marked by the towering silhouette of these awesome giant structures and the deep blue of the ocean draw a singular sight of unsurpassed beauty. Cozumel and its reefs are most definitely the natural treasure of the Mexican Caribbean. Coral reef communities are among the wonders of the submarine world. And now, most of them are within our grasp. Thriving in the diversity of the reef's ecosystem, each fish species has evolved and adapted to the environment. In diving Cozumel reefs, we encounter a universe of fish life everywhere. On the sea bottom, in mid-depth waters, and along the reefs. Now let's meet some of them. Among those to be seen on the sandy bottom and seagrass bed are the balloon and porcupine fish, pinned with long hard spines that stretch across towards the back of their body. The scorpion fish, superbly camouflaged in reddish-brown shades, commonly passive but ready for defense, brandishing a spine on their dorsal fin that is stocked with poisonous glands. Sand tilefish build and keep burrows by removing sand and stones with their mouth. Commonly staying nearby the entrance to retreat quickly on demand. The jawfish, which swims head up to the surface, during the day it upkeeps the premises and feeds on plankton. Uses its mouth to carve out minute caverns for retreat. Flounders start off symmetrical in the early stages of their lives. A few days after hatching, one eye begins to migrate over the head to approach the other eye, and the mouth then aligns accordingly to final eye position. Thereafter, the fish settles and establishes a new way of life, superbly camouflaged by its changing color and blending into the environment. Flounders can move their eyes independently, revolving nearly 360 degrees, which explains their excellent peripheral vision. And finally, in the sandy areas and seagrass bottoms nearby the reefs, the always mighty stingray, vigorous swimmers driven by the rhythmic waves of their pectoral fins. Stingray skin is soft and smooth, of differing patterns and colors. Their belly, however, is commonly pale white. They spend a great deal of their lifetime resting on the sandy bottom. The entryways behind their eyes pump clean, oxygen-rich water into their gills, which are nestled in the ventral section of their body. All rays, with the exception of the manta ray, have their mouth positioned below the head. In Cozumel, the most beautiful ray, no doubt, is the elegant spotted eagle ray. A swift swimmer that flaps its pectoral fins much like a bird. During courtship, they become even more active and playful, delivering to our eyes a singular, breathtaking, and humbling experience. They love to swim in areas with prevailing strong currents. During the winter, they are commonly sighted all day long, swimming in impressive squadron-like formations. Their teeth are fused into two large crushing plates. They feed on shellfish, which they find by squirting a thrust of water from their mouth onto the sand to expose their prey, clasp it with their mouths, and devour the meat. The remaining crushed shells are discarded. The conservation of their habitat is the only real measure of preservation, for as the reefs remain alive and thus provide sustenance and shelter, so too the cycle of life will continue. Other fish have evolved to become excellent swimmers, and today they spend most of their time in the open sea. Examples: fish belonging to the Carnagidae family, silver-toned, long with big eyes. As adults, they form large schools and spend their time in open waters, returning to the reef for food. Barracudas are common sights in Cozumel's waters. They're great daytime hunters, habitually seen roaming the reefs and mid-depth waters. Although adults are lone hunters, younger generations keep in small groups. Hammerheads are considered deep ocean dwellers. Still, they are spotted alongside reef walls or near the shore, their hammer-like head clearly discernible. It is believed that the shape of their head is an adaptation for swimming, possibly a design that better encases its sensory organs and sharpens their receptiveness. Many other fish, honoring the habits they've developed during hundreds of years, keep a close relationship with the reefs. The nurse shark, for one, is the most common shark in Cozumel. Grayish-brown and boasting two barbels on the upper lip, nurses use them to locate their prey. They're often kept company by remoras. During the daytime, they may be sighted swimming, but mostly they prefer to lay on the sand inside small caves along the reef. But come nighttime, the hunt begins. Groupers are often spotted wandering along Cozumel's reefs. They easily and quickly change color, turning pale or dark, a reaction triggered when in transition from youth to adulthood. When in distress or during the time they spend in cleansing stations, where small fish gnaw clean their skin from parasites, they usually find shelter in caves or cracks along the reef, and are commonly seen resting on the seafloor. These functional hermaphrodites mature first as females to produce ovum, and then evolve into males to produce sperm. The sex change has a specific purpose: to maintain the balance within the population and underpin the survival of the species. Groupers, as most wild animals, must first courtship and then copulate. Couples swim in circles close to one another in an act similar to dancing that brings them into contact. Courting stimulates the release of sperm and eggs into the water, and the circle of life is set anew to start all over once again. Other striking life forms roaming these reefs are morays and eels. Their bodies long, muscular, and flexible, with thick skin and small scales. Their skins produce a mucus coating for protection against germs and parasites. These creatures stay in their domains during the day, systematically opening and closing their mouths, pumping water in and slushing it out through their gills to breathe. They are lone predators of nighttime action. Although their eyesight is not well developed, their sense of smell is keen and reliable, used to locate their prey nestled in coral formations. Carnivores with dozens of curved teeth, morays commonly clutch their victims with their jaws. They play a critical role in reef life by eliminating populations of old, sick, and wounded animals. It's their contribution to preserve the cycle and balance of marine life. All have the same general look, but come in different sizes, colors, and skin patterns. Grunts and porkfish are known so for the sound they make when rubbing their pharyngeal teeth. The different species mingle during the day to form small groups of schools. They remain inactive, rocking with the current in a safe place along the reef. These fish are referred to as chakchis in the Yucatan Peninsula, which in Mayan means red mouth. Chromies are plentiful in Caribbean reefs. During the day, they roam over coral heads and schools feeding on plankton. Other fish keeping a close relationship with the reef are surgeonfish, called so for a spine nestled inside the sheath on both sides of the caudal peduncle, which is much like a surgeon's scalpel. When threatened, they brandish it to the ready position. This sheath is of a different color in each individual. As herbivores, they help keep coral formations free of algae. Few fish on the reefs share these feeding habits. Apparently, it's necessary to have a long digestive system to process plant matter, especially to digest a type of marine algae commonly found around the Yucatan Peninsula. Boxfish are the only fish with an armor or a structure of bone plaques with an opening for its mouth, eyes, nose, anus, and fins. This structure is rounded in younger types and triangular in more mature adults. They feed by blowing water into the sand, uncovering small crustaceans roaming the sandy bottom, and presto. Filefish have an elongated spine right before their dorsal fin that they voluntarily engage when threatened. Some swim in couples along the reef, branded with different marks and colors. Triggerfish have strong and rugged jaws consistent with their feeding habits. They have the uncanny ability to move each eye independently. In Cozumel, it is common to see an ocean triggerfish swimming up current in mid-depth waters or beside the wall. During spawning, they deposit eggs in the sand and remain on guard to protect them. The Atlantic spadefish gets its name from its resemblance to a spade in a card deck. Schools of spadefish are often seen in open sea waters nearby the reef. Parrotfish are herbivores of daily habits. Their mouths have dozens of joined teeth that form corneal borders similar to a parrot's beak. They use these sharp tools to tear pieces of coral and calcareous rock swarmed with algae, to grind it, swallow, digest the algae, and expel the stone in the form of fine sand. Parrotfish go through different phases during their lifetime, changing color, marks, and even sex. Some species are hermaphrodites. And then some, like the princess parrotfish, produce a mucus substance at night to cover themselves from night predators. Trumpetfish have an exotic shape. They keep in hiding by keeping a vertical position within the branches of soft corals and gorgonians. In hiding, they expectantly await to catch their prey using their snout, which is fitted with a hook-like towing tool under the lower jaw. Splendid toadfish also live in the reefs of Cozumel, spending most of their time inside small holes below reef structures. They're endemic to Cozumel and are clearly very important for the island. These reefs are also home to the large-eyed toadfish, common to Caribbean waters. Brownish red, it has a big mouth and eyes. The spotted drum, jackknife fish, and the hi-hat, recalling the shape of their bodies, are among the most striking life forms on the reef. Juveniles have an elongated dorsal fin that can sometimes grow longer than their own body. As they reach maturity, the fin remains long, but to a lesser degree. The spotted drum, jackknife, and hi-hat all have similar patterns of alternating black and white stripes. As carnivores, their diet includes small crustaceans, mollusks, and worms. They are anatomically impaired for good swimming and accordingly during the day prefer to stay close to shelter. Almost all species of butterfly fish live in couples throughout their lives and are always seen together. Their long mouth is a natural evolution of their feeding behavior. Carnivores that feed daily they probe their long mouths within the coral surface to ingest polyps, coral mucus, and some invertebrates nestled there. The angelfish fills the reefs of Cozumel with color. Normally seen in couples, they sometimes engage into small schools. Adults swim longer distances than juveniles, who prefer to stay within a single area, feeding on ectoparasites drawn from other fish. Adults and juveniles of the same species are completely different from each other. Not much unlike us humans, I guess. In addition to these fish, Cozumel is home to 3 different kinds of sea turtle. The loggerheads, roaming shallow waters nearby the reefs. They reach their sexual peak between the ages of 12 and 30. During the nesting season, loggerheads lay their eggs on the island's beaches. Their huge head and jaws designed to crush and grind. Survival tools of these mostly meat lovers. Green turtles are equipped with finely serrated jaws to accommodate their vegetarian diet, which they will stick to into adulthood. As do the loggerheads, green turtles periodically visit the island to lay their eggs on the beach. And finally, the hawksbill turtle, of brown shades and beautiful tones on its shell. The shell is elliptic, studded with integrated panels. Their snout is pointed like a bird's beak, with cutting edges and a powerful jaw. These are the most tropical of all turtles, living in shallow or deep reefs. Juveniles tend to gather in a single area. while adults migrate from foraging areas to reproduction grounds during specific times of the year. Coral reefs are their forage habits of choice, directly related to their diet, which includes generous servings of sponges. This species does not lay its eggs on the beaches of Cozumel, but it is still the most common sight along the reefs surrounding the island. Cozumel is the drift diving capital of the world. Currents here will oftentimes run at 2 to 3 knots. Divers should be aware of the direction in which fish swim and follow the tip. To roam effortlessly in this three-dimensional universe. Finning and moving the arms to keep a reasonable distance from the reef substratum and the organisms that live there. Close observation will uncover marine creatures' everyday existence, a relentless struggle for survival. Coral reefs are among the most ancient natural communities on Earth. They house thousands of species and represent nearly every group of existing sea organisms. Everywhere in the world, scuba diving today has revolutionized our knowledge about reefs and the marine life that inhabits them, ecologically, biologically, and geologically. Scientific research and monitoring are crucial to build an extensive database to help determine management practices, establish evaluatory procedures, and suggest action that will integrate and preserve coastal and ocean resources. Below the water surface, there exists a remarkably different, colorful, and fascinating world of bountiful attractions to enjoy, not just for a few hours, but more like an entire lifetime.